Hey everyone, welcome back to James's Repair Shop. Well, working on the 65 Thunderbird hardtop. All that noise you hear is the air dryer kicking in from my compressed air. So we'll give it a second, that'll die off. Won't bother us again for a few minutes. Anyhow, been busy on this car when I can. I've had a few other projects. Had the motor go in the furnace and it was getting hot here, and my wife and I both enjoy air conditioning, so I had to change the motor in the furnace. There's been a whole lot of stuff. My wife has started renovating in the house, and I've been doing the sheet metal work on this car. More than I thought was going to be, but it is what it is. I'm down to the point now, pretty much other than a few little odds and ends here, the sheet metal work is done on this car. And you can see that we've been doing a little bit of sanding. Beverly came out and gave me a hand. This car has had a couple little dings and dents like most cars do. So, but what this video is about is the radial arm that goes from the lower control arm to under the red support on this car. I don't know if you can see it or not, but that's the radial arm right there. So what happens is the bushings go in the front of them. The back part of the arm is just hooked to the control arm, so there's really no bushings, there's nothing there, just two bolts. Mind you, you have to measure it, but the front bushings rot out in these, and these ones are and this car was no exception. I'll talk a little bit about the bushings I bought. Now, these bushings, before we get into this job, now this job may not even get done today because the bushings I bought are for an F100 or F150 Ford Bronco, 1978-79, or anything with the twin I-beam suspension, because I could not get these bushings. They may have them out there now, but at the time when I ordered them, that's all I could get. So they're very close. So we're going to see what we can do with this. So I'll get set up. We'll get the camera set up, and we'll be taking this big nut off here first, up in here, the cotter pin and the big nut off. And then once that's off, we can take the two bolts out of this, and then we'll see if those bushings are going to work. All right, let's get at her. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get a little bit of penetrating fluid on this nut in here. And these bushings, you'll see they're all split. I don't know if you can see it from there. Yeah, you can see the split. So I'm just going to spray that all down a little bit with some, I use Deep Creep. There we are. One of my favorite by Seafoam. I really enjoy this stuff. There's probably better, I don't know. But if it's any better than this, then it's really good, because this stuff is excellent. I'm going to do both sides, even though we're only going to do one today, because this is late in the day and I'm kind of getting behind the 8-ball here. And I'll spray down if you can see it over there or not, where I'm spraying, where that radial arm goes in, you can't. So you'll see where that arm goes in, those two bolts down in here. One right there, and there's one right here. I'm just going to spray those as well and let them percolate a bit. And I'm going to get the wheel off the car because I need to get in there anyway. I could probably do it without the wheel off, but the wheel has to come off anyway. I'm going to be doing the brakes on this car, new rotors, and I have new shocks for it. So, but today we're worrying about this set of bushings. The cotter pin, these are a bugger to get out because there's no room to work up in there, and the light is going to be right in your guys' face. Yeah. Yeah, and the cotter pins, and I know from putting them on before, you can't put the cotter pin in from the top, so I may have to, I don't know, I'm going to have to figure out what to do with this one. These are always a problem, these cars, these cotter pins. I don't know if I have a tool that will bend around the corner or not. I'm going to be right in your way. And the car isn't quite high enough. All right, hold on. Wow. Yeah. Uh-huh. Now, I think The last time I did it, I actually did unhook the arm, and that was made so I could push it up. All right, now I can't see anything. You need to be laying on your back to do this work. All right. Well, the cotter pun's not frozen there anyway. That's nice. All right. So what we're going to do here, if you guys can see me or not. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take the, you can twist you around here. I'm going to take this arm off the lower control, and that way I can push up on it, and then I'll tip this bolt down. I think that's the best way to go at it, and then put it back on just to turn the nut off. But first I'm going to measure, from about here, if you can see that, down to the control arm, to the front of the control arm. I'll put a mark on there. It shouldn't move much. Actually, and I'll mark that too. I'll just mark the arm. I don't know. I know that you can adjust those a little bit because there's marks on it. But if I just score it like this, I might probably get it back in the right place. Get the dirt off there first. There we go. I'm still going to measure it, so let me get it measured and we'll go from there. Well, I'm going to measure this before I take these two bolts out in here, and I'm going to measure it from the face of this out to this piece right here. If you can see that, the light's not in the way, there's a little point right here. So I'm just going to measure it from there. Those are two fixed points that I need to be back onto when the car's hanging in the air. So that is right to the outside, so that's 14 1/8 of an inch. So 14 1/8 from here to here. So we got a 15/16 socket and a power bar. Try to get these out. Get them broke. There it goes. They're on there. They're on with a locking nut too. But they'll come. An impact would do it, but I don't have a impact socket that size that I can find right away. There she goes. They're on there, man. There. All right. I'll put an impact on them now and zip them off. All right, that'll do it. The old air cat on them. Air cat's only a 3/8 drive, so I don't want to break it. And one, get out of there, nut off. And two. And there's a plate on these. Don't lose the plate. And as you can see, it jumped up. And now it pushes that, when I push up on it like so, you guys can't see it, but I'll bring you back here so maybe you can. Now that the front of that rod, I can't even see that rod. You guys can probably see it. I can't see it. There it is right there. Now, when I push up on that, that drops that down. So, and if nothing else, I can turn it like this to get the cotter pin out. Makes it a lot easier. And then I can just put those back in when the time comes. And I scratch marked where it needs to be. So I'll just turn these. There's these nuts and there's another bracket right there. Take that off. And we can get at that. I think I can't see it. You guys probably can. Yeah, I can get at that cotter pin sort of right now. All right, let me get that out and we'll get back to you. I got the cotter pin out. I put the bolts back in over there, the nuts back in over here to hold this arm in place. And now I have a 30mm socket, and that's the only socket I have that will fit over that nut. And boy, oh boy, it's on there tight. So we'll see what we can do with it. I started moving it a bit. Hopefully that socket doesn't just slip. It's not a deep socket. You can't even get a deep socket in there. If not, I'll come up with another way. I had these out before. That's not bad. I don't know if it's slipping or what's going on up there. I may have to go get a 30 millimeter, the proper size socket. Once I get it started, I could drop that arm back down again. Actually, I think I did get it started. Let me get an adjustable wrench. Actually, I'll get an adjustable wrench and I'll be right back and we'll try it. I think it's already started, so it seems to be turning. Well, it seems to be turning okay. I didn't get an adjustable wrench. I just tried it with my 30 again. So now I'm going to take these, to get it tipped down a little bit better so I can get on it, I'm going to take these bolts back out because they have to come off anyway. For the strut arm, or the strut arm. There. And if it's turning easily like it feels like it is, maybe I'll get a ratchet on it. Yeah, she's turning. Oh yeah. I can turn the arm too, give myself a little bit of leverage. Oh yeah, she's coming out. I don't think that my ratchet will get in there, but she's turning easy now. Once it broke free, it must have been tightened all the way. There's a sleeve in there, so they must have tightened it right to the sleeve. So I guess you can't really go wrong. Now, if yours is rusted, these aren't very rusty, you might have more trouble than I have with it. There we go. There she comes. Like if it's rusty up in there, you may have to heat it. I know not everybody lives where everything stays kind of less rust. I mean, some of you people living in the Rust Belt areas will probably have a lot more trouble with it than I am. But I'll have it almost off now. I know you can't see much, but it's coming out honest. Leave that on there again. There she goes. There she comes. All right, there's the nut, heavy crown nut. Probably reuse that. I'm going to anyway. And there is the, where are you? There it is. This is how it all goes together like that, and the nut goes on the end. All right, so now I have to see if my Bronco F Series twin I-beam suspension bushings will fit that. So give me a second. Here we are, we got it in the vise. I've got my new ones. So let's pull these off. So this goes on the outer part, this with the in, it goes in like this. And then there's this piece right here, which is the same. So we start talking about the Ford truck parts, because these are from for an F100, F150, 78, 79. They'll probably fit many of those twin I-beams. And when I did the specs, now this is all squatted out here. That's why they're worn out. But when I did the specs on these, this piece here, the diameter of this and diameter of this is 2 inches and this is 2.06 inches. So it's very close before they're compressed. But first, before I put all this on, I'm going to clean this up. Take some emery cloth, clean it up, put a little bit of silicone spray on the bushing and put it on. So that's this piece right here. So this piece right here, I'm going to go see the specs again, but I think this is only about, it's about a ½ inch too long. This piece right here is about a ½ inch too long. So I got to cut that off, and she should compress in there. The rest should be the same. Again, this is gone, rotten. So you can't go by the swollen part, but you can go by this. It fits in the cup really nicely. So let me get this cleaned up, and then I'll go measure, see how much I have to cut off this. And then I actually want to make sure this fits through the frame, and I'll check that too. And I'm sure it will. All right, so I checked this in the frame. It's a little loose, but I think compacted, it'll be fine. Because this will squish this out when it is tightened up. So let's get this cleaned up first here. All right, you guys don't need to watch me sand. I'll get this done. There now, I gave her a little cleaning just to get some of the heavy rust off. Cleaned up the threads with a wire brush. A little bit more, baby, right there. Just so the nut goes on easier, even though this one's not bad. Again, if you're in a rust belt area, you're going to struggle with this nut. You may have to cut it off with a torch or really heat it up really good and get it off there. I don't know what the actual size is, whatever 30 millimeter fits. It's probably 1.5 inches or so, 1.25 inch nut. I should measure that for you. So just hold on. What is that nut? Let's measure it up and then we'll know what it is. What is that nut? That nut, it would be 1.8 inches. So it looks like 1.8 inches to me. Yeah, 1.8 inch socket probably do that. Good, so we know that. Set that aside. So somewhere around there. All right, now this inner one, I'm going to put a little bit of, I was going to use Vaseline, but I remembered I have silicone spray, so Blaster silicone spray. I'll put a little on there. Lube her up good. Everything's all slick. That slips right on like so. Now that has to go into the car before I put anything else on it. So let's do that. We'll get this arm back up in the car, and then we'll get this. Oh, I measured this, and it's a little bit small, but this will squish out. I'm not sure if I'm going to need to, if it'll compact enough or not. I still think I'm going to have to cut some off. So I'm going to go check. Like I said, I'm going to go check the length on the specifications for the Thunderbird on this piece right here. Before I go into it too far, these bushings I'm using for the F100s and Broncos from A78, 79, F150 will be the same. I don't know about 250, they might be different. MK8101. Now the Mevotech for the Thunderbird bushing, I have the number for that and I'll put it in the description. Hopefully you can get the right ones. But the Thunderbird bushing's overall length is 2.6 inches. So that's about 2 5/8. So I don't have a pen. Yes, no, I don't have a pen on me. So I'm just going to mark it with this razor blade. So 2 5/8. Just kind of a scuff mark there. And these bushings are 3 3/8. So I need to take this amount off right here, this amount off this to make them work. So let me just measure it up here. So I'm taking off, I think if I just take off, let's get in here where I can actually see the numbers. If I take off 5/8 of an inch off this piece, that'll bring this in. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's take about 5/8 off. We'll just play with a bit here. These shouldn't be too hard to cut. Last famous words, shouldn't be too hard to cut. There they go. Not a perfect cut, but it'll straighten her up. Now we'll measure it. See if we get 2.6 or 2.58, 2 5/8. That is still a little long. We're a little bit more off that. And if it's a little long, I don't care because it'll squish out anyway. Cut it even. I need one of those PEX pipe cutters for that, big enough to go whoop. All right, let's try this. That's pretty good. That's 2 3/4. I'm gonna go with that. I think that'll be just fine. All right, I'll put this back on and we'll get this arm back. We'll get this up in the hole, put the arm back on. I'll spray that down with some silicone spray. Get it inside there. There she goes. There. Looking pretty good. So that's all got to be compacted now. And the nut. Where's the nut? I had it over here measuring it for you guys. And I need that that outer washer, that big heavy washer right here. All right, I get all the parts gathered up now. I can't really see because the light's in my eyes. There we are. And the castle nut goes on. So far, I think it's going to be a fit, or at least it'll do the job, I think. And if it's loose, then I'll replace them if I can ever get the right ones. That's tightening down nice. So now I'm going to have to, I wonder if I can get my ratchet. I don't think I can fit up there. Now, reverse of what we did the last time. She's tightening up. Oh yeah, that might just be, it might just do it. All right. Before I get that in there too tight, and while I can still turn it by hand, I'm going to put these bolts in. And if I have to get a wrench to fit it, then I'll do that. I could also put the car down and take the weight off of there, and that would level that up. Maybe that's what I'll do to tighten it up after. But right now, I'm going to put these in. If you guys can see me doing it or not. I don't know what you guys can see because I'm way back here. All right, I'm going to put these, the big bolts back in the lower control arm, like so. And that looks to be pretty darn sweet there. One nut. The other one's in the. Oh yeah, of course. Someone didn't take it out of the socket. There we go. We'll give them a snap in. And I'll measure and I'll make sure the measurement's right, but I can adjust that after. So let's see if I can tighten this up without putting the car down. So far it's good. All right, let me get it all tightened up and then we'll see how it goes from there. So I've got it tightened up. I have to put a cotter pin in. They're right up to where it was. I'm going to back it off a tiny bit so the cotter pin will fit. Bushings look pretty decent. That light is right glaring at you guys, isn't it? So it's tight in there. So let's get this arm back on and we'll go from there. So we got the arm back on. Don't forget to put that little plate on underneath. I forgot to do it. So I take it back off and do it twice, of course. So let's just measure. I said 14 1/8 from the face of that. Let's see, I can't see what you guys see. So 14 1/8. It's 14, so it's got to go back just a shy tiny bit. Eighth of an inch. I had to push that back some. So I'll do that off camera, put it back in place because it was supposed to be to the inside of that, not the inside, but the facing the control arm, so 14 1/8. So that's out by 1/8 of an inch, so I'll have to adjust that. And the cotter pin I didn't get put in because I have to get one that's big enough for that. I thought I had some, but I don't. But she's looking pretty good. The bushings are in. And that's all you can ask for when you're hand boning stuff together. Well, there it is, guys. Whew, I'm sweating. But I used the Ford ones. I bought 4 sets of them because I have 2 F-Series with twin I-beam suspension. If you guys can get the right ones for your car, for the Thunderbird, and I'll put in the link the Mevotech ones for both the F-Series and for the Thunderbird. If you can get the Thunderbird ones, by all means, go for the Thunderbird ones. But they're not hard to change. Almost easier, I think, if it was down on jack stands where you could lay on your back and do it, than up in the air. Like, my lift doesn't go high enough so I can stand straight up. So I'm always kind of not being able to see where I'm working. Works great for other things, but not so good for that kind of work. But yeah, fairly easy to do. Just remember to measure your distance. I'm off by 1/8 of an inch. I'll have to adjust that. And that's easy to do. I'll just back those nuts off in the control arm, and then I'll pry it back a tiny bit to get that 1/8 of an inch back. But if you measure it ahead, you'll know what you need. That's the important part. Just measure it ahead. Anyway, I'm rambling on about nothing, so it's time for me to say thank you for watching, and continue to watching my channel. I appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.